Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time it is a review of the 2002 horror film Fear.com. Now, this is one of those movies that I went into completely blind. I decided to watch it one night because I am honestly really starting to appreciate William Malone as a director, and I knew that he directed this, so I wanted to check it out. And I'm glad I did because I honestly liked a lot of things about this movie. That being said, I personally feel that this film is only adequate at best or an average horror film. It's not a movie that I would like to watch over and over again because it is kind of an incoherent mess when it comes to its storytelling. The ending is a clusterfuck, and there are other elements that I personally feel definitely do detract from my overall enjoyment of the movie. But that being said, I still didn't mind the movie. I thought there were some genuinely compelling bits of the story, at least some elements that were interesting to me. I also felt that from a visual perspective, I felt that this film looked genuinely fantastic at times, and created a really unique and creepy, eerie mood and atmosphere that reminded me of some of the cutscenes I've seen in Silent Hill, the video game, or in other sort of horror survival games. I honestly feel the film is definitely underrated when it comes to its visual style, when it comes to its production design and its art direction. I love that William Malone decided to combine 1930s aesthetics with what was modern technology for the time. I thought that was a really unique blend of two elements that really created a really cool look for the film. I liked that the film is dark and rainy and has this horror noir look and feel to it. I think that is something that enhances the film's atmosphere and mood. I don't think it's a negative. I see a lot of critics slamming this film for being dark, like it's just shot dark and it sucks because it's too dark and it's raining all the time. And I don't understand that. I think it creates a really great aesthetic. There's some really striking shots in this film. For instance, there's one shot near the end in front of these old nuclear reactor plants that's shot at night, and it's a great looking shot. So there's a lot of stuff in this movie in terms of visuals that's better than a lot of horror films that I've seen in the past few years, or at least on par with some of the best that I've seen. But this is one of the worst horror films ever. This is one of the most worthless horror movies ever made. If you look at the ratings online, if you look at the critical reception that it's received, if you look at these bottom 100 lists that people make of worst horror films or worst horror films of the 2000s, if you don't like the film, trust me, I get it. It is not a film that I would say is a great or even a good movie. Like I said, at best, it's average, it's okay. At least to me personally. But I don't get the claims of it being one of the worst ever. That's my thing. Because, like I said, it's got a great aesthetic. The direction by William Malone is genuinely fantastic, in my opinion. The editing at times can be annoying, but at other times it actually is quite good and gives the film a really unique and interesting feel to it. And definitely puts you at unease because it unnerves you because of how strange and surreal it is in terms of its editing. And I think some of the performances actually are genuinely good. Some are better than others. And you can definitely tell that there's a budget behind everything. I mean, I've seen some absolute piles of shit. I've seen Curse of the Blue Lights. I've seen Cannibal Terror. I've seen August Underground. I've seen Alien 2 on Earth. I've seen The Alien Dead. These are all films to me that are total incompetent, worthless pieces of shit. This is not one of those movies to me because there are so many other elements in this that actually work to me that I can't really put it on that particular pile of garbage. I just don't think it's fair to the movie, at least to how I personally view the film. I know some people might find this a shocker, but hey, this is why I give films a chance, because you never know. You never know. I mean, I might not have ever watched this movie because of its reputation. Or I might have, probably would have waited a long time to watch it. Because it's not like I deliberately choose to watch poorly rated films or shitty movies to pass my time. I mean, I only have so much time. Why would I want to waste it on watching pieces of shit? But, it's one of those movies that I get why people don't like it, but I don't get why it's considered one of the worst. That's my thing. I don't get why it's considered one of the worst films ever. I think it came out around the time of The Ring and films like that, and so a lot of people looked at it as being too similar to The Ring, and I can't even really say anything in that regard because I haven't seen The Ring, I haven't seen the Japanese version or the United States version. I know about The Ring, I know a little bit about it, the basic gist of the plot about the videotape and you'll die in 7 days and samurai and whatever, because it did become ingrained in pop culture pretty strongly when it came out. But I haven't seen the movie, so I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, this movie sucks because it's just The Ring. But if that's how you feel about it, that's fine. I can understand why people hate it because of the ending. The ending sucks. I'm not going to defend the ending. The ending is really the main thing to me that prevents this film from being anything but adequate. I mean, it could have been a lot better if the ending wasn't as much of a clusterfuck, and I'll get to that, trust me. But there's just something about this movie that I just really kind of worked for me. I think a lot of it's the aesthetic and the overall concept. I like the idea of the website and the ghost story mixed with some torture, gore, and a mystery. I liked those elements combined together. There's even like a little bit of a potential supernatural virus sort of thing that's kind of insinuated early in the movie. Plus, I also liked seeing actors like Jeffery Combs play against their type. He plays a cop in this. He doesn't play a killer. He doesn't play a character like he does in Reanimator's Herbert West. He plays a normal, everyday police officer, and he did a really good job. So for that alone, I think it's not completely pointless or completely without merits. And definitely, William Malone's direction, which I generally think was really good. It's a shame that he got ostracized from Hollywood and never got hired again because this movie tanked. It's not like it was his fault. It's not like he did a bad job. So, the film features a script by Josephine Coyle, and I think that a little bit of it, the story, is based on some concepts that William Malone had about what if you put a bunch of computers together, created some kind of supercomputer, and what if that was capable of supernatural goings on, for instance, possibly taking people's souls from the interwebs. And it's kind of a silly idea for sure, but the film does a good job with its aesthetic enough that it kind of works for me. I really like the design of the website. Yes, it was kind of dumb that it was called FeardotCom.com, but the reason why it was called FeardotCom.com is because they wanted to call it Fear.com, but they couldn't get the domain. The person who owned the rights to the domain name would not give them permission to use Fear.com. Just regular Fear.com. So they had to improvise. The film gets criticized a lot for that, and that's something that they didn't have any choice with. They tried to do it the normal way with just Fear.com, and they weren't able to do it. And apparently the film also got an NC-17 rating from the MPAA when the first cut was sent to the MPAA to review. And I've heard a lot of people say this is a tame R, or this isn't as gory as it could be, and I feel them on that. And I honestly would like to see the NC-17 cut of this film, because I think it would have been even more unsettling to watch and would have made the film even more effective, especially the torture scenes, because a lot of the torture scenes tend to be a little... I don't know if the lame is the right word. Nah, it kind of is. The torture scenes are a little lame because of the fact that you can tell that a lot of stuff is cut out. They try to make up for it with some stylish edits, and sometimes it kind of does work, but other times not so much. So the torture scenes don't really have the same power or weight as they might have if it was NC-17. Now, the overall plot of the movie is a little bit convoluted at times, but the crux of it is this. There is a serial killer who's going around kidnapping people and torturing them. Well, he is also broadcasting these kills on this website called Fear.com. Well, his first victim, and this killer is called Alistair Price, played by Stephen Ray. And honestly, I think Stephen Ray did a really nice job playing this character. He was very sick and twisted, and believably so. I mean, there was a lot of moments with his performance that really made me uncomfortable. And that's a great performance. That's exactly what that character was supposed to do. Now, so he's broadcasting these kills live on the internet. And one of his first kills was this woman named, I believe, Alice. Yeah. This woman named Alice. And Alice... she was, I believe it was Alice anyway. I could be wrong. But, so there's this, his first victim is this young woman who is, you find out, is actually a hemophiliac, which is an interesting touch. And she's tortured and disfigured and killed and left for dead. Now her spirit has somehow wound up into this website that the killer is using, and she's using his website to get revenge, but that part's a little confusing because she's killing potentially innocent people who had nothing to do with this guy because I guess they like to watch. She just wants to punish the guilty. She's a ghost punisher apparently, but I mean, this is what I'm talking about with the screenplay. There's some interesting concepts here, like the website, and there's a ghost who's going around using the website to prey on people and to use their greatest fears against them. There's this one guy who's afraid of car accidents, and so he dies in a car accident. There's another gal who's afraid of bugs, so that's her fear. So there's some interesting stuff going on here with the elements of fear. One scene in particular that really stood out to me is a scene where there's this white ball, which is featured very prominently in the film, that's rolling down a hallway, and then it turns into just this mass of insects. I thought it was a really well done sequence, and it really creeped me out. So there's a lot of moments like that in the film that stood out to me and really, really genuinely freaked me out. I also thought the design of this evil ghost I thought was well done. Some good makeup effects, a good design. So it's one of those movies where there are elements that genuinely click. There are other elements that don't. Um, it also doesn't really explain things as well as it could. Like I said, it just the ghost comes across as too vengeful. Like if you just want to get to the guy who killed you, that's all well and good. Why do you have to kill all these other people? And it's like set up as this, oh, well, they need to help find her. They have to play the game. They have to uh, figure things out. And I'm like, okay, there's other ways you could do that without essentially just turning the ghost into a Punisher character who it has even less morals than the Punisher. I mean, even the Punisher has a line. He's not gonna that he draws in the sand. This ghost, this bitch, she doesn't have any fucking qualms or remorse whatsoever, or any sort of. It doesn't even seem like she has any rules. It's just like you watched. Now you either find me and figure out this mystery and find where this sick fuck is and stop him, or let me kill him, or you're die, or you're dead. So that part of it, I'm not too fond of. The overall concept, not a bad idea. The execution, not the best in the world. Then you get to the ending, which I need to save for a little bit later because I don't want to go on a really long rant just on the ending alone. Now, the film also, in terms of the story, suffers from a shift in its focus of the character that it's following throughout, because the main protagonist for most of the movie, for at least the first 50 minutes or so, is Stephen Dorff's character, Detective Mike Riley. Well, he watches the website, and then now he's sick because that's what the website does to you. It makes you sick because I guess it's essentially sapping the soul out of your body in 48 hours. So now he's caught the virus, so to speak, from this ghost, and he's out of action. So now the co-star who had been tagging along with him, Terry Huston, played by Natasha McElhone, she now is thrust into the lead role. And now she ends up watching the website, she starts playing the game, and all the things that he wasn't able to figure out, nobody else is able to figure out all this time, she's able to figure it out with no problem. And that's another aspect of the script that is not very good. I mean, it just seems a little bit too convenient that, oh, well, now she gets all the right clues from the ghost, and she's the one that figures everything out. But the chick who works with computers and works with the police to patch things together, nah, she's not smart enough to figure it out. The detective, nah, he's not smart enough to figure it out either. This random character who I believe is some kind of medical person who works in the medical field, well, she's the one that is smart enough to figure out this mystery. Well, so now she's the main lead, and eventually she does meet up again with Mike, and they team up to go after the killer. And that's when you get to the ending, which is a massive clusterfuck and really infuriating. Because you have the character played by Stephen Dorff, Mike Riley, who I actually like. I like the character. It's nice to see a male lead in this kind of film. And I thought Stephen Dorff, I honestly think he did a good job. I thought he delivered a solid performance as this character. I know a lot of people think he was just lazily sleepwalking throughout the entire movie, but I didn't see it the same way. I thought early on he had a nice bit of chemistry with Jeffrey Combs, and he had some charisma, and he was even smiling and joking around. And then once he got the ghost virus or whatever, that's when he was sleepwalking through scenes, but that's on purpose because he was slowly dying. And I thought that was a good performance because Stephen Dorff did a good job playing the lively character of Mike Riley, and then also did a good job playing the Mike Riley who was having his soul slowly sapped out of his body. If you're talking about him being lifeless at some parts in this movie, it's done on purpose. That's exactly what he's supposed to do. That's exactly what the performance is supposed to convey, is the character being lifeless or slowly going through the motions. So I don't understand the criticisms overall for Stephen Dorff's performance. Natasha McElhone, I get it. She's not really that good in this. At best, she's below average because there's a couple scenes here and there where she does okay. But for the most part, she's flat. She doesn't really have much chemistry at all with Stephen Dorff. There's some romance angle that's thrown in there that doesn't work at all because they have no chemistry and no sparks. And once the film moves its attention to her, it loses steam because she's not as interesting of a character and she's not as engaging of a character to me personally as Mike Riley was. And then you get to the ending and you're just like, okay, all right, Stephen Dorff, he's not quite dead yet, and he's teamed up with the girl, with Terry, and they're gonna stop the killer. And they've already established that Stephen Dorff has a history with Stephen Ray's character in this. There's a history between Mike and Alistair, and Mike has been trying to hunt down Alistair for years. They finally get to meet up with one another. Mike's not doing very well because of this ghost virus, and that's slowly killing him. And the final confrontation between him and Alistair isn't really that good. And then, on top of all that, he gets fucking shot and he dies. I hate that ending. I hate it. I hate that he gets shot and he fucking dies. I get it. They're trying to do something different. They're trying to not have a happy ending. Whatever. But he's the strongest character. And then also, not only does he die, but so does Jeffrey Combs' character, who is the other character that I liked, Sykes. He dies too. And he dies off screen. So yeah, the ending fucking sucks. I'm not going to defend the film for its ending. The ending is bad. It really is. The ending sucks ass. It's a really upsetting and infuriating ending. And on top of that, if it isn't bad enough that, okay, now we have the character that I liked, he gets shot and he dies. Then you have the other character that I like, he gets killed off screen. You just see the aftermath of him like pinned on a wall somewhere. Then the main villain doesn't even get a satisfying death. Stephen Dorff's character Mike, he does end up unleashing the ghost's vengeful spirit to attack Alistair, but it all happens in his mind, and it's this CGI fucking mess that has not aged well at all, and it's just this artsy-fartsy bullshit, and then he dies, and it's so uneventful and lame. So the more I think about the film, I don't even see, it's one of those movies where I wanted to be on its side because of its reputation, but the more I think about the movie, the more I have to be honest about it and have to realize that the ending really does hurt this film quite a bit, and so does other elements like its incoherent storyline and its various inconsistencies, the editing at times, which can enhance the film, but other times detracts from it. The opening of the movie with Udo Kier, which is a fucking random-ass scene with this random character. We're just thrown into it with this guy, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. He sees this ghost girl, which reminded me of Carol Ann from Poltergeist. So he sees Carol Ann bouncing a ball in the train tracks. He goes to try to stop her because he's trying to save her from getting hit by a train, but then she disappears, and then he's still running down the train tracks in what you are led to believe is a moment where he's trying to save this girl, but the scene that you're watching doesn't show the girl anymore. So the guy's just running towards fucking air and might as well just be committing suicide. And of course he gets hit by a train. So that's not a very good opening in the movie. And I gotta be honest, that ending, the opening sucked. The ending sucks. There are some scenes in this that I do like. I love the look of this film. I think it has a great aesthetic. And I thought Stephen Dorff delivered a solid performance. I thought Stephen Ray was genuinely unsettling as Alistair Pratt. And I thought William Malone did a great job directing the movie for the most part. But yeah, I mean, the script... it's one of those screenplays where you got an interesting concept, but with all the flaws, it's a failure in execution. It really is. It's a lot of system errors going on. And then, on top of that, you got a score by Nicholas Pike, which didn't really do anything for me. It was pretty forgettable. At times it was, I guess, average, but there wasn't really a memorable note in any of the musical elements that were put into the film. And the cinematography of Christian Sabolt, I honestly will praise. I thought the cinematography, despite it being really dark and rainy, that's the whole point, it's supposed to look dark. I thought the cinematography was dazzling, but in a way that's different than what you would initially think of something being dazzling. It was dazzling in the way of how it made some scenes that are so dark, dingy, and rainy still be so visually striking. I also felt that, like I said, the editing at times works, at times doesn't. Mixed bag by Alan Strachan. And it has a running time of like 101 minutes. There are times where it kind of drags a little bit, especially once it moves its attention to Natasha McElhone's character. And honestly, I feel bad for Natasha McElhone because I saw an interview with her that's on the featurette on this DVD. And she, in the interview, shows some genuine charisma and personality. And I think what happened is the studio forced her to have this fake American accent because she's not an American actress. So they had her have this fake American accent throughout the whole movie for no reason. And it just created this very inauthentic performance. So I honestly think she's a much better actress than what she shows in this film, because what she's doing is being somebody that she's not. So I don't think she was given a fair shake or a fair opportunity to really do the best that she possibly could, because she's put in a bind with this whole you gotta be this American character. I also felt that the character wasn't very well written either, so that didn't do her any favors. But yeah, this kind of turned into a rant. I know I started out like, oh, it's adequate, and da-da-da-da-da, but the more I think about this movie, I don't hate the film. I don't think it's as bad as its reputation suggests. I do think it's actually better than that due to the visuals and some of the other elements, but it's a movie that I can't really say that's a time waster for me. I can't really say that I would ever want to watch this again. I can't really say it's a film that I liked, because it's one of those movies that just took a little bit for things to sink in. Sometimes that happens with me. After I watch a movie, the next couple days, I'm just kind of ruminating on things. I'm just kind of thinking about things, and it just takes me a little bit to really see clearly what my genuine thoughts on the film are. And I hate the ending so much and how it's executed, and all these other elements are so ineffective and inconsistent that I can't. I can't say that Fear.com is a good movie, and I can't say that I liked it. But I would recommend it if anything sounds interesting to you, and I would recommend you give it a fair shake, despite its reputation, because, like I said, there are elements in this that genuinely are effective. There just aren't enough to make it really genuinely good or potentially great. I mean, if things are tuned up some more, if some of the circuits that are fried were repaired or things were replaced and some components were upgraded, the film actually might have been a gem. But as it is, it isn't. It's like one of those computers that's really old and behind the times and can work in a pinch, but isn't going to really do a whole lot other than let you use the word processor or maybe surf the internet for uh, a couple hours or whatever, because it just can't really handle a heavy load. And that's too bad. It really is. I feel that this film had potential, and I definitely feel that at the end of the day, the potential was ultimately wasted. But that's my thoughts on Fear.com. I hope you enjoy the video. I know this is more of a kind of a rambling video, but I just kind of, just like I said, just took me a little bit to get my thoughts in order. But anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you later. See ya.